Welcome back to Dialogue Choices podcast. It's been like a while. I forget how many while.
2 weeks.
It's been 2 while.
It's been.
It's been.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I don't know what song that is, but I know I have heard so many people reference it. I have referenced it in myself, and people get the reference, and I have no idea what that is.
Do you literally just go "It's been" in that tone?
Yeah, it's just like it's been. I have no idea what that is.
It's 1 week by the Bare Naked Ladies, I guess. And based on the title, you can probably guess what the next 2 words of that line are. But it was just around a lot. There's also a line about Chinese chicken that stands out to people for some reason. Kind of like how
Chinese chicken is famous for being Chinese.
Weirdly specific lines just stand out. Like, I don't know. Like, I always think about, was it? I think the werewolf in London orders beef chow mein in the Werewolves in London song, and like that's like just stuck in my brain unless it's wrong. I don't know. Anyway, we're back. It's the podcast. We still, like always, there's no plan. It just goes somehow. Andrew, you said you had a question.
So recently, as some of us have been doing, I've been playing Elden Ring, and one of the things that I've started to become quite annoyed with, but is just a very common, I would say a pretty common trope in video games, is enemies that have unlimited stats. So they have limited health, obviously, but their stamina and magic are just completely unlimited. They can continue doing everything for as long as they want to. And my question is that fun? Is it fun that an enemy just can kind of do something indefinitely, where otherwise, like especially in an RPG game, where thinking about that and planning accordingly, like, oh, I know that spell, you can only cast it like 4 times before you run out of mana, but then you watch an AI just spam it indefinitely, and you're like, okay, well, all right, like, is that fun? Would it be more fun if enemies had limited stats just like you do, where they have to, regain their mana, regain their stamina?
I've definitely taken issue with like the AI. I mean, I've almost never liked the AI PvP in these games because of the fact that it feels like there's some kind of weird nightmare man that, like, either they're hilariously easy to defeat, or they like have this weird, like, they're like have infinite poise and they can't seem to be staggered, and they also like just kind of keep coming at you aggressively with no self-preservation, and they have like, it feels like they could just keep going, and like they have so much destructive power, and you're like, how do I fucking deal with this guy? And it doesn't quite feel like the human fights.
I think, like, I've seen Andrew. Well, Keith, you have a better understanding than I do, but I've seen your Let's Play of teaching Andrew how to play Souls game, or Demon Souls and Dark Souls, and I've seen.
You've seen the Hydra kill itself.
Yes, I did recently. In fact, I've seen that Let's Play a couple of times. That's quite a moment, and I know it's coming, and it spoiler alert, it doesn't happen the first time around, and that's why I'm like, oh no, it didn't kill itself. Am I misremembering things? But no, I can't.
Then we come back and it kills itself, and you're like, all right, I guess we're not fighting him.
Yeah, because like Andrew goes down there first, and then comes back up and does other things, and then goes down there again for whatever reason. I don't remember why, but I think maybe after you can teleport between the bonfires, that's why he finds himself down there. But the I see, Andrew, I see you have a much different relationship to Dark Souls. Well, I say much different. I think you approach Dark Souls as more of a fighting game than sort of more a RPG, I suppose. Because I it's not the first time you say that. I've heard you complain about why do the rules not apply to this character that I'm fighting?
I think for me in my head, I find it to be a more to me, I like to think about the idea that if I am, the more knowledgeable I am about a system, the more I feel I should be rewarded for that knowledge. And I think knowing how, especially like in a Souls game, knowing how spells or how attacks work seems like it would be important, right? Like, you know, if you know how a weapon can be used, like a sword or a whip, and you go like, I know the effective range and I know the effective like combo timing, you know, like I know exactly the delay between doing each attack, and I get that. But my next thing is like Keith said, it can be really annoying when like say a whip, and you just have an AI that's just sitting there like whip, 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 and you're like, okay, do you like stop having the ability to do that? Can you like, is it possible that you run out of stamina and just take a second to breathe? Or am I going to just sit here and watch you do the coolest circus show just for me alone? Like, what are you doing? What am I, like, why?
Yeah, or
why...
like they cast like a super spell and it's like, okay, well,
And they keep
I can do that.
it.
I can do that once that I have to drink a potion. And I can grant that you might be spec'd into having a larger bar, but like I've seen how fast bars go up when you level them. It don't.
It's like I remember fighting an AI and he just kept casting that one spell, I forget what it's called, but the one where the swords go around you. Like you just have the multiple swords go around you. I'm like, that's like it's like a 50 or 60 FP spell. And like he's just spamming it. He's like, boom. He's even casting it when they haven't even shot yet. He's just like multiple casting it. And I'm like, dude, come on. This is like the worst.
To me. I've seen that.
This is like the worst use of economy I've ever seen, and I can't punish him for it because he just has unlimited. Like,
you might be able to punish it. When
I can punish him so I can punish him while he's doing the cast, but I'm saying that he doesn't get punished by overcasting. He can't be like, oops, I should have waited till I did that. Now I've wasted my magic. He can just sit there and just keep casting that thing. I'm like, what the fuck's the point then? Like, why even have the spell?
It's funny because Dark Souls, even like, I think Demon Souls has this ability. No, actually, Demon Souls doesn't. It's Dark Souls 1 and other Dark Souls as well. Oftentimes when you fight other characters and people who are humans or undead or whatever, they have their own Estus flasks and they have their own allocation of Estus flasks. So, and when I say Estus flasks, I mean the healing Estus flasks specifically, not the magic ones. They can keep casting however much they want, but the healing, like they will heal, but they will run out of it, and that's the mechanic that they have. They're like trying to approximate, and I think they do a good job in that regard. But they're trying to approximate the relationship between the player character and some of the enemies that we fight. But I think you're right though. It's I think it's a limitation. Honestly, it's a complicated system. It's like Dark Souls is as complicated as it gets in terms of combat. Well, maybe it's not as it gets, but I can't think of a single action RPG that has more complicated combat than Dark Souls. Because there's so many weapons going on, there's so many spells and so many fighting styles. And now Elden Rings, it's even more because it's got...
I was going to say like Neo, which is just literally the Dark Souls formula. But what if we like stacked complications on it is like the premise of the game?
Well, there you go. I don't know Neo, but yeah.
And obviously...
the thing is,
I got tired of it a bit because I'm like, these are a lot of other options I have, but I'm not sure how many of them are justified or at least the game, maybe it's like the appeal didn't teach me or whatever, but like I beat the whole fucking game and I still didn't have the understanding of why half the options existed, like what I would do with them.
For them to make a game around a combat system, any combat system, but a complex combat system, they need to take, well, they don't need to, but it's so much easier to just take shortcuts. It's easier to program an AI around having like reach detection or like detecting your action or detecting how far away you are, and then just programming in a script, and like you can dish out a boss in a couple of hours in terms of programming their AI. It doesn't mean it's going to be good, but it's easy to do a rough mock-up of a boss or an enemy like that, and then it's easy to test. It's easy to replicate things. If you're adding the complications of the player that you know. Maybe they now need to have a build of spells, like, because you can't memorize all the spells, so obviously they have their own spells, and which is the case for enemies. That's true. They have their own spells. They don't have all the spells available, but things like stamina management, because the enemies don't have stamina in Dark Souls. Things like their own Estus flasks or resources or whatever, certain buffs. Like the enemies will just keep casting buffs and over again, and or using items or whatever that They just do that. They have an infinite amount. They're not limited by those resources. And I think
I'm not. Go ahead.
it's just an easy way, I suppose. But you're right. I think it would be more fun to be like, oh, look at this. This guy has like half. Is like the Elden Ring kind of introduces that. I was gonna say, oh, this guy is half dead already because he's been fighting these enemies. And Elden Ring has a few enemies that are damaged, and they have not been fighting anybody. They're just placed damage already because it's part of environmental storytelling. It happens early on with a particular giant that I had to calculate after the fact. I was like, wait a minute, that giant was injured because of this thing that happened. That was kind of neat.
And it's
But it's so
and like
rare.
one of the bigger, I guess one of my biggest frustrations here is that, you know, it's my own self-imposed limitation. When I play Elden Ring, I'm playing it as a pretty close range class. I'm not punching people, but my clubs aren't, they're not like spear length. I can't be keeping people at a far enough distance that I get some pretty good buffer time to roll away from or anything like that. I'm not doing magic.
Oh yeah, I'm using
long range
fist weapons.
Yeah. And so sometimes it gets incredibly frustrating when you have a guy who just spams a long range attack over and over and over and over and over again. You're like, okay, so I know that you have a spear, but I also know that the spear fucking runs out of stamina pretty quickly if you just keep fucking poking with it. There's no way that you can just keep doing this. And I can try to roll at him, but a lot of the AI have like perfect snap. So they'll just like basically snap their spine to attack you next turn. And so it's like, what the fuck? This guy just keeps spamming the fucking poke button, and he can just snap turn at any second. What do you want from me? I can block, I guess, but at some point it just becomes like, or why can't I just wait until you run out of stamina like a stupid clown? And you just stand there and you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And you're like, then I can go and punish him for spamming, basically. But and I don't expect them to do something as intricate as like, okay, well, maybe the AI have like, the casters have little flasks that they can drink to get more mana or whatever. I don't need anything that complicated. Just the idea that like, I think it's stupid that someone could stand there and basically be shooting. Like I had a guy who literally just indefinitely shot magic arrows. And I know for a fact those magic arrows take a lot of magic. And I know for a fact that after the 10th magic arrow he shot in a row without interruption, there's no fucking way this guy had mana still. And he's just sitting there for like 5 minutes. Yeah, or stamina. And he's just sitting there shooting and shooting and shooting. And it's like,
the
okay.
number of casting items that are the things that cost mana, but are also a physical item in your inventory.
Yeah. And at some point it like I'm willing to like, throw away the annoyance that like, say for instance, the AI shooting bow weapons, they always like, no matter how far you are, they will always hit you. And it's like, okay, sure, I guess I will concede that makes it more challenging. Fine, whatever. Like I can shoot a bow and arrow at that distance, and it sure as fuck doesn't work that way because the AI like literally, I've shot a bow at people that are like a mile away, and they still just sidestep me. I'm like, how did you even fucking see it coming? You don't even know I'm here, and you sidestepped it. Fuck off, dude.
They're scripted.
Like, yeah,
it's very easy to tell that they're scripted to do that.
It's so ass.
There's a huge asymmetry in ranged combat.
It's so awful.
The number of enemies that will just perfectly dodge forever, and you're like, all right.
Yeah,
cool.
and I'm sitting here like, all right, and again, fine, I'll accept this as being just part of the combat. But it is annoying though when it gets to the point of like, fine, then if you're gonna be a jackass about it, I'm going to hide or I'm going to block your arrow. But that becomes a futile effort when you realize, oh no, he can just sit here and keep doing this forever. All right, well, I guess one of us is gonna give because I'm gonna run out of stamina from blocking or health from running out of blocking, and like. Why even at that point? Like I literally went to a guy, I got a spell that I can throw a stupid fucking boulder at people, and it is so fast and it works so well that's all I do is when I see someone's like, I'm gonna shoot an arrow, here's a rock and another rock, because you can go into each other. So if you cast once, you can immediately throw another rock right after if you press it again. And so I'm just like throwing fucking rocks at this guy, and like that's all I can do. It's like, what do I do about a guy who's sitting here a mile away from me and he's like, I'm not gonna bother. I'm like, fine, I'll throw rocks. And it makes him like have to do the sidestep, and while he's sidestepping I just start running, and he's like, oh shit, prepping another arrow, throw another rock, oh, I gotta sidestep, and he like just keep that up, and eventually you get close and he's like, oh, wait a second, maybe I shouldn't have sidestepped all those arrows. Like,
But that's why
so
you
dumb.
see things like a lot of enemies that shoot arrows take forever to load, where you as a player can load very, very fast. And that, like,
Yeah.
they have to come up with all these like let's call it artificial, but it's not really a good word, but all these sort of like very blatant asymmetries to balance things out, because what you're saying is when it's something that the player is at a very, very big disadvantage. But I think like we're missing the biggest disadvantage that the player is the damage output of an enemy. You have to hit an enemy 10 times to kill them, or a boss or whatever, maybe not 10 times, but let's say you get, and they hit you twice and you're dead. And that's like, and it feels good to play a game like that. But if you explain this to somebody, like at first is like, wait, what? That's not how anything works. But for Dark Souls to be designed in a way that the number of hits would count, like it would even out, like whoever gets to 10 hits first dies. For them to design a game like that, it wouldn't work. Like the Dark Souls system doesn't work like that. You'd have to remove iframes from rolling, for example.
And that's fine to me. I'm okay with like I understand the necessity for enemies to hit harder or have more life, even if they're just the same enemy in a different location. Like things like that are, again, I can suspend my disbelief for some of that stuff, because you have to create a challenge at some point, or otherwise the scaling just becomes so impossible. Like, what do you do with a guy that's like, you know, like 150, and he walks up and he's like, hey, and every enemy's like, oh fuck, like I can't grow. You know, at some point I'm limited here on what my stats can be. And I'm not expecting every enemy to like be maxed out and everything. That would be silly. But like there are just like little things where like, okay, you know, I'm fine with enemies being strong or enemies having a lot of health, but I need like some kind of Achilles heel here. And usually that comes in the form of like attacks. Obviously you can't just have a person doing a whole bunch of attacks. Like I have I think right now the only thing, like the one example I have that's not like of me just being petty is I feel that every non-boss enemy should stagger when they're hit with a colossal weapon. No matter what. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Unless you're blocking, if you get hit straight up by a colossal weapon, you have to stagger from it. It's like, it's fucking bullshit to watch a guy or an animal, like to watch something get hit with a club that's 4 times its size, and it just keeps attacking you through it. And you're like, excuse me? How the fuck did you do that? Because if I took a casual hit from a bow and arrow, I literally fall on the ground, even if I'm covered to head to toe in armor that weighs more than most life forms on this planet. Like, how the fuck?
You don't fall on the ground.
He means like a dragon great bow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you definitely
like yeah, like a dragon great bow will just knock me on my ass, and I'm wearing like heavy fucking armor. I am decked, and I'm still just collapsed on the ground, and I can hit one of these guys with my giant fucking mallet, and they just like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna stab you. I'm like, how the fuck are you gonna stab me? Get on the ground.
Why did I pick this weapon if it doesn't do the thing?
Hyper armor. Hyper armor is just absolutely the worst. It's like, because it's trial and error. Like, oh, when the enemy does that, I can't attack it and expect them to flinch, because they will just continue. They'll power through. And there's so many enemies that do that.
Yeah. And it's always, they always power through on their hardest attacks. So like, I'll be fighting a guy like with a shield, and he's like, I'm gonna remove the shield and stomp on the ground. Like, perfect, I'm gonna hit your fucking face in. And he goes like, oh, that's fine, I'm gonna still do my attack. I'm like, what the fuck's the point then? Like, why don't I just have 2 shields and just beat the shit out of you with 2 shields? I can block with one and punch you with the other. Like, why am I not just doing that? That's the best option. Just have 2 giant 100% shields, one for magic, one for physical, and just block literally everything and just beat somebody to death with it like an asshole. And it's like, all right, I'll just move on then. I don't have to care about anything. Is that a bow? I can block it. Oh, is that fire? I can block it, and I'll just punch you. And it's so boring and so unpleasant. But like, the enemies feel the same way. They're just like, haha, I don't have to care. And it's like, are you gonna kill me in one hit? Because this is gonna do 50% of your damage. That's gonna do like 15. And it's like, all right, well, cool, I guess. Which is why I see like bleed buildup is just such a good strat. Why people dual wield fucking bleed katanas, and they're like, haha, I can just make you lose 90% of your health in 4 swings, and you're like, yeah, that's a pretty smart idea. I love it. That's a really great build. I wish I could do that, but I can't because I've committed to a fun.
You have 2
no,
katanas.
I've committed to a cartoon build, and I'm gonna stick through it. But the problem is that just
strength to the katanas.
I am. My build is a caveman. All I can use is magic that is rocks and fire, and all I can. And all I can use as a weapon are clubs. I have the literal biggest club you can find in that entire game, and sometimes I dual wield it with the second largest club that you can find in the entire game. And that's what I do. I am a dual club wielding caveman who walks around and bonks the shit out of every single enemy that comes in my way, and that's it. Like, that's all I do.
I have fond memories of using the dragon tooth in Dark Souls 2. In the DLC, just flattening everybody, because it's like I love the Dark Souls combat because of the mechanics of you moving a character around and attacking and judging how far away you are from the enemies and rolling and all that. And a big tooth doesn't make you roll any slower, so it does a little, but not really. So you're just as agile in terms of defense, but in terms of attack, for me, it's still all about like how far away am I from them? Can I find an opening in this one attack? So it's still just as engaging, even though it's this big, dumb, super huge, 2-handed dragon tooth, literally, that you smack people with. And I have fun with clubs.
I've had to make a commitment basically to like, and again, this, there are moments where I understand, like I don't fault the game for me being a clown. Like I get there are parts of this that are harder for me because of the stupid build I've chosen. But like for instance, half my talismans are taken up just giving me equipment load. Like they just exist so I can carry more stuff and be decked out. Because I am, like I said, I'm wearing such heavy armor, and this club weighs like fucking 28 pounds or something. And it's just like, I basically, if I don't want to fat roll, I have to have I think I have like 3 items dedicated, or 3 talismans dedicated just to like increasing stats, mainly equipment load. So that way I can just not fat roll through this game. And
yeah,
it's fine. Like my strength is so high that it compensates for this, right? Like, so generally speaking, if I fight a boss, I am doing about 25% of its health per hit is like generally what I'm doing. And so
what the fuck?
Yeah, I just run up and I'm like, bop, and like it's stupid. It's fucking dumb. Like I every time a cutscene boss comes up, it's so funny because you just see this it's like fucking 5-10 minutes of someone like, I'm explaining the lore to you about what's going on, and then you watch me and I'm like, bonk, 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 and they're like, okay, well that's my posture. I'm on the ground. I'm already halfway dead. Let's not do this anymore. It's like what? It's so dumb. And you're
up here actually getting to see the stagger animations of bosses where you get to do the finishing move.
Yes, I do it multiple times. Like it's so ridiculous. But and that's why I get so mad when I see enemies, like regular enemies, just tank my hits. And I'm like, well, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? I staggered like a cutscene lord. Are you telling me I can't stagger this dude who's holding a pitchfork? Fuck off. I could kill this guy. Like, there's no reason for this.
They do have hyper armor. Oh, no, that's right. Some of the lowest enemies have hyper armor attacks. And very common ones.
Like, why? Why would they have this? It's so weird. And there's like, again, I'm fighting these, like, I'll fight these ridiculous shit. Like, I don't know, some giant fucking space dog, and again I walk up and I hit it twice, and that's like 50% of its health because I'm using a blunt weapon, and the dog falls on the ground and crumples over, and I just beat it again. But then there's like a casual guy holding a torch, and he runs up to me and he swings the torch wildly, and I hit him once and he goes, I'm still swinging. And it's like, what the fuck? I'm sorry, what? You don't even have a weapon in your hand. How are you able to endure this hit? I don't get it. Like,
it didn't used to happen though in older Dark Souls games as much.
Well, I get it. Like,
I think the franchise is chasing its own reputation a bit because every game is getting harder.
Oh, I think
Except
Elden Ring
Sekiro.
is easier. than Dark
Sekiro
Souls
just
3.
decided to throw all that
I
out
mean,
the
you
window.
can.
And
I mean,
just-
it's harder than Dark Souls was, like the
Is
first
it?
Are
one.
you sure? Oh, then Dark
I
Souls.
can't.
Yeah.
I cannot believe
like,
that's
you
true.
can see, you can absolutely see. Yeah, it's absolutely harder than Dark
Yeah.
Souls 1. What was harder
yeah.
in Dark Souls 1 than in Elden Ring? Like,
Dark Souls 1
No,
is
not
super easy.
sorry, not Elden Ring. I meant Sekiro. Sekiro's doesn't feel harder than
Sekiro.
Dark
no,
Souls. 1.
Sekiro's the hardest games that they've made are Sekiro and Bloodborne for me.
Really?
The entire Dark Souls franchise is below those, and Elden Ring is like between Dark Souls 2 and 3.
I can
Maybe
see.
I
yeah.
haven't finished Elden Ring, so I don't know. It's
No,
like maybe I'd be
Dark
tied
Souls
with
2 is-
3.
I
It's
never
between
played
Dark
the-
Souls 3 and Dark Souls 3's DLC.
Yeah, that's fair.
Dark Souls
That's
3's
fair.
DLC was fucked. Holy
It's
shit,
so
some of that
difficult.
stuff.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
That was so much.
The second
but like
one in
there's been a
particular, the
very
first one as
if
well,
you look at the Dark Souls trilogy, there's very obviously a very ramped up difficulty curve to the point where going back to the old games is like cute by comparison.
Cakewalk, yeah.
including like Dark Souls 1 and Demon Souls are like kind of cute when you're used to have the type of shit they threw at you, like Fume Knight and Sir Alon and Guy in the Dunes.
Guy in the Dunes.
And
What?
Painted
Was-
Woman.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't remember any of the boss names from Dark Souls 3 DLC.
Oh, Painted Woman. That's the lady in the lady with the scythe.
The one with 75 phases.
Yeah, the lady
And,
with the scythe that has the boss.
yeah.
That yeah, I forget her name
It
as
just
well.
slowly breaks your will to live. It's like the precursor to the final boss of Sekiro, where you're like, how long is this fight?
Oh, that
'Cause,
boss.
like,
Yeah, that boss
I
is
love
a
that
lot.
one, honestly.
But
Because you're like, phase 1 felt like a whole boss fight, and then it
Yeah, yeah.
wasn't. And now I'm just
Well,
going
it
to keep
was.
reaching deeper into myself.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's phase one
To
was
overcome.
literally just the boss fight you did the first time you meet that boss.
Yeah.
And then it's like,
Yeah.
by the way, I have another you have another phase. You're like, okay, that's cool. It's a whole different
And another
style.
one.
Oh, that's not cool. And then it's like, by the way, I have a third one. You're like, why? What? I'm
What
done.
is
I'm so
happening?
tired. Yeah, you're like, by the time you get past the second one, you're panting.
Was
you're
there-
like,
Yeah, but there's a cutscene for you to rest between the
Was there
second
a
and the third.
single boss in all of Dark Souls 1 that had a second health bar?
Yes.
I mean, you can count. Can you
demons
count
do that.
Smaug and
What
or not
demons?
Smaug? What's his face?
Yeah, remember the ones right at the first boss of the second DLC of Dark Souls 3.
No, I said Dark Souls. I mean, Dark Souls 1. Does it have a?
Oh,
is there a
no,
single
it
boss
doesn't.
that has one health bar? Because
No,
obviously
the two
we're
health bars,
totally
yeah, no,
talking about examples of people with a billion health bars, like
Yeah, no, it doesn't happen.
people that just get back up, or a cutscene happens and you fight them again, and so on. But I think that was literally like not in Dark Souls 1 at all,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
now it's
even the
it's
three
getting a
kings
bit more
that are
common.
four- even the three kings that apparently are four, you can if you do enough damage, you only fight three of them.
Yeah.
I
What
think
what
that-
hurts
I don't
me
know.
is when a boss fight is easy enough, has an easy enough like boring phase 1, but then a hard phase like 2 and or 3, and you're like, I have to do the first part every time.
I mean, you can count. Can you count Ornstein and Smaug as two health bars because it's two different
Oh,
phases?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Oh yeah, the one that is still alive refills his health bar, doesn't he?
Yeah, yeah. That's a
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah,
So there's
like,
like a phase 2.
technically, but
Yeah,
I
that
think
one's got a
yeah,
trick to it.
obviously, like that's the closest you can get. But yeah, then as you progress, you're like, oh, some of these bosses just don't want to go down. That's cool. I mean, granted, I think Sekiro was just fucking full of it. I feel like every
Mhm.
other boss had a
No,
second phase. Like
Sekiro was just there to ruin you.
It's so
the game
mean.
played like it was angry at you.
it's so mean.
So
Yeah, I love it.
I was just
but-
losing my mind, and then you're like, "Wow, I can play exactly this kind of game. No stamina bar. That's all I needed." And you
Yeah,
just
like,
burn through it like it's nothing, and I'm like, "What the fuck? How is he doing this?"
The
He's
game,
not doing
the
it
game
now, though.
The game did everything I want. Well, no, because I found. I mean, it's
You've lost.
I-
You've lost the Sekiro-ness.
no, I have it back
Right.
now. I just had to change my controller because it turned
Oh.
out my controller's buttons were fucked up.
Oh.
I
Mine-
finally did it. I broke. I ended up breaking the right bumper on the Pro controller, like that fancy,
That happens to
expensive
me so often on
metal-
everything.
metal controller.
Right
So I
bumpers
need to
don't
replace. Yeah, so I need to
No, yeah.
replace the.
Like it's like the 360 was fucking bulletproof controllers, and then all of the sequels they've made since then, the Xbox controllers have shitty bumpers that break easily.
I'm about to buy the
I have
fucking
this
Duke
experience
again.
as well.
We
They
can't
get,
break
like,
the
squishy and
Duke.
poopy.
I have this experience as well, but
The
from
Duke didn't
my
have bumpers.
360.
It has
My
black and white
360 controller.
buttons. Same difference.
How dare you?
My 360 controller broke the left joystick. Like it's not drift, but like when you press it, oh no, it's the right joystick. When you press it, like it doesn't work right. So for
So
target locking, it's screwed up.
and so yeah, obviously I didn't know that for like half of the game, and then once I finally what I did was I got one of those in game, or one of the controller button overlays for stream. And so it shows you the buttons that you're pressing. And so I finally was like, okay, I put that on the screen just so I could show the audience, like, I'm not crazy. I'm blocking. When I say I'm blocking, I'm literally blocking. I'm not lying. I'm not doing the thing of like, oh, I thought I did, but I made a mistake. Like, I literally was smashing this block button as hard as I could, and my character just would stand there. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm not crazy. The controller is broken. Awesome.
Yes.
Like, that's all I needed the validation for. So I just went, got a different controller, plugged it in, and then just had no other issues. Now, back on the train, the only issue I had was fighting the two great apes, where that was actually difficult.
That's everybody.
Yeah, that was...
No, it's easy.
I got...
Yes.
No.
The thing about Sekiro is that what you're saying right now,
lying.
Keith, it's easy. I think in your head you're seeing like this strategy, and all you need to do is jump on this attack and dodge on this one, and that's it, and it's easy. But like, how did you learn that? You learned that by trial and error. I'm
saying after beating the first ape, the two apes is easy. Like
it's not. What are you talking
I fought
about?
the fucking first ape for like a fucking day, and then two apes came up, and I'm like, I think I beat it my first try.
No, not the
check.
two headless apes. The two headless are fine. There's one where there's a headless ape and a non-headless ape, and that one's fucking awful.
Wait, how many versions of that fight happened? What?
There's
a third?
Yes.
I don't really remember that happening.
So there's one in a cave where it's a headless ape and a non-headless, and the non-headless is a dumb little piss baby, and he will only attack you whenever the other one is finished. Like basically when the headless ape staggers or is like done attacking, then the non-headless ape attacks you. So basically you have to balance two different monkeys with two different fighting styles, and they keep like basically doing a tag out system. So if I stun the headless one so I can get a good hit, the non-headless one is like, oh, time to attack. And I'm like, what? I don't have time to attack anybody because you fucking keep changing attacks. And it's just, it was a nightmare. It was awful. I beat it, but it was awful. And I was so mad the whole time. I was like, just leave me alone. I just don't want this other, I'll fight 6 of these headless monkeys at one time. No problem. I can't do it with a monkey that doesn't have a weapon. Like, what do? I can't block his attacks because he doesn't actually have a weapon to block. So he's just smacking me, which you're not allowed to block like that. And he just rolls and jumps and throws shit everywhere. So it's like, what do I do with you? It's an awful enemy that's just hanging out basically, and you can't reach and attack him because he runs from you. So he just runs and stays only behind the headless ape until the headless ape attacks you. Then he jumps out and attacks. It's like, fuck this guy. Fuck this fucking ape. All he does is attack you when you're when his stupid shield is the most vulnerable, which is the only time you can attack it. It sucks, but doesn't matter. The point being that was fine. That was so far the hardest fight I've had since I fixed the controller, and ever since then it's been fine. I can stagger anything, no problem. I can always get perfect parries or perfect reflections. I've been spending the time
I have 5 unabridged episodes in Sekiro.
Yeah, I've been spending a lot of time learning how to properly parry with attacks. That's really hard. So I'm attacking at the same time that they attack so that we parry attacks, because that doesn't take posture damage from me, it just causes posture on them.
Is that a thing in Sekiro?
Yeah, you can, if you swing at the exact same time that they swing, you both collide your weapons and bounce back. It counts as a block, but it does less posture damage to you than it does to them. So it's a much better.
I might have just forgotten. I don't remember how the game
Yeah,
plays
I think
at
you
all.
were doing
It's
it.
also
I
it's
think
also
you did it, like Andrew does
terrible.
that a lot. Yeah,
It's a terrible idea. It is, because obviously blocking
You're gonna
is
get hit.
generally yeah. So blocking, even if you fuck up the perfect block, you still block, which works. But if you do the attack incorrectly, then you just get hit, and it sucks. So you just take a full ass hit, and then the enemy is just like, I don't know what that guy was doing. So that it's a risky move, but the payout is a lot better. Obviously, it's a lot harder on bosses because they have 15 attacks, so you're like constantly swinging the sword to try to parry these weird long windups, which is, I guess, arguably not as bad as Elden Ring, which has windups that are like 40 hours long. You're just sitting there and you've taken a whole wedding, you've eaten food, you've gone to sleep, you've taken like a 2-week vacation, and then a sword hits you and you're like, what the fuck, I forgot about this thing. Like,
I love them. I really like that they chilled with the windups. Dark Souls 2 in particular, but Dark Souls 3 as well, has a lot of enemies that just attack you very fast. So they're very hard to tell when they're about to attack you. So you just have to learn to tank it. At least that's my personal experience playing. I see the same thing in Elden Ring, that the windups just take forever. But I love that. Like that guy that has a helmet with soup inside. That I don't know what it's called, but it has usually a big club. It just goes around and smashes you with a helmet. Did you know the one that I'm referring to?
I think so, yeah.
That guy has the slowest attacks ever.
Yeah.
But it just keeps going, and I'm like dancing in front of him and dodging every one of them. It's just like, okay, there it is. There it is. And it's not the only one. There's a lot of other enemies that I can just dodge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
it's
easy. That's why I say it's easy. It's a lot easier. If you're dodging, Elden Ring is the game for you. If you like dodging.
I am really bad at it. I cannot handle long windups. I am somebody who is much better at like the Sekiro or shmup style, like just bullets, like constantly attacking bullet attacks. Well, I can block those. I just bop, 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 bop. I can react really quickly, but I can't stand slow windups because I just need to attack. I'm like, I'm just wasting time. I have to attack now. And so it's obviously just sitting there like, and then the moment that I start swinging, it's like, huh, and it hits you, and you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll wait. And so then you end up just waiting while it does this really long windup, and then it misses. And then you hit it, and then it does like some really quick, like, return the weapon back to its like position thing, and it hits you, and you're like, why? Why the annoying. Fuck? Like, I hate this.
Those are really annoying.
What's it called?
I don't know why it does that.
The Iron Maidens do this a lot. The Iron Maidens will do this like big wind up back, and they'll throw a weapon and then pull it back, and that pullback hits you, and you're like, well, when do I attack you? When would you like me to attack you? And like sometimes they like when they pull the weapons back, they do a thing where they spin 360 when they pull it back. Like it's such a big pull, and so it can like hit you in a radius, and you're like, what am I gonna hit? I don't like to, because my weapons don't support it. I don't like to run. I don't like to poke and run. I don't like to just like bop and then run away. I like to sit. I commit to my attacks. So it's just a
That's the thing with the slower weapons, but it's not just with slower weapons. Keith, I think he's having the same issues as some bosses with the shorter range ones, shorter range weapons.
I mean, Keith is like going for a JoJo build. He's just running around and like hurrah, rah, 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 on people all day.
I get the impression that it's very easy for those weapons to fall into the habit, or not habit, but fall into the trap. It's not a trap, because the game forces you to do basically look at the boss, wait until the boss does this one particular attack that you know you can attack on, and then you dodge everything else, or defend against everything else. And that's boring. Like whenever a boss has to work like that, and sometimes it does. Like it depends on the builds. It's complicated, but that's really boring. I hate that. And I found, what was it? It's one of the. It's a boss. No spoilers, but it's one. It's one of the bosses, like when you're about level 60 or level 70, in an area full of rot and red, and it's like a boss on a horse, And I have fought that boss before. It's a reused boss, but that one for some reason has a different timing to it, and it's just like to me, I was like, oh, I can't attack you because he was also hyper armoring through everything, flinching never, ever, ever. So I was like, oh, this is a wait and go boss. And I almost beat the first boss. I had half a health bar when I found it, and no Estus flasks. I was just I got it down to half health. So I got a good chance to learn the boss, but it's the only time I saw a boss where I couldn't attack when I wanted, and I just had to wait until I had an opening and just poke. There it is. And my weapon is really fast. I use a stock, two-handed, and it's not the fastest weapon, but it's pretty fast. And even then, I was having trouble. If you have a slow weapon, you need to wait until that one attack where he jumps up in the air and then his head gets stuck on the sand or something, and it's like, oh, there it is. That's my opening. Yeah, they do that a lot. They do that a lot.
Yeah, there's
the horses in particular, I think.
Yeah, I do like. I don't know if you guys know this. You can stagger a horse.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you have heavy weapons, you can just without even damaging the horse. The horse is like, whoa.
Yeah,
horses.
Yeah, so I found that like if there's enemies on a horse, I will generally hop off of my horse because with my two-handed spec. So if I hit it once with a heavy and then twice with a light club and then once with a heavy again, the horse will just buck off whatever it's on it. Doesn't matter who's on the horse, it will buck it off and run away. And it's great because I can just...
It's with that many?
Yeah.
Wow. I must have been because it was early game. I did that with a samurai level, whatever the samurai starts at. And I was fooling around against the horse Viking people in the first area.
Oh no, I'm talking about like the armored horses, like the heavily armored horses.
Oh yeah. But the unarmored ones, I was just like jumping and heavy attack on the person on the horse, and the horse would just flee, and the person would always fall.
Yep, it's fun.
But you're saying the horse itself knocks the person out.
Yeah, the horse will just buck up. So the horse will buck, like do the I don't know what you call it, like
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it'll just buck up. It'll be like, ah, and then it'll like start running away. And so the person on the back is like, huh, and then they just fall off, and that counts as staggering them. So when they get kicked off, like if something kills your horse and it basically it bucks you off and then disappears, and then you fall onto the ground, it's the same thing. And so it's a great way.
It's a cow. It's not a horse.
Is it a cow?
Cow horns. Yes.
Oh. I don't know. I just call it a horse.
Yeah, of course.
But and you can just walk up and you just do a big, do one of those huge attacks on them because they're stunned. It's really fun. But what is it? There's something about there's some enemies that I know are pretty manageable in terms of their wind up, or like their the wind ups they can do. I find that more often than not, it's because the strat that I have generally with a lot of enemies, or a lot of bigger enemies, like say any bosses, for example, I do summons, and the summon that I do gives me, basically makes it so that I have 4 clubs, and so it's basically just a stun fiesta. And so no matter what I'm fighting, it turns into this nightmare of like it just staggers anything so quickly, and I don't. It's like there's
that sounds fun.
It is a lot of fun, but I notice that there's a lot of times where it struggles because Elden Ring has this bad habit of like, here's an enemy or here's a boss, and now they're just enemies, and so I end up interacting with a lot of bosses in such especially like any catacombs boss. I have literally never seen them attack me except for in the very beginning. Like since I've gotten my double my quad club summon, I literally have never seen a single catacomb. Yeah, like, and now that I can beat any enemy with 4 clubs, I have never seen a single catacomb enemy attack. I don't know what they do anymore. It's like I have this strat where I go in, I like stand in front of the door, I drink my Fisk, and my Fisk gives me extra health, and I take one hit for free, and then I use one of my another he's like a shard, and that gives me extra life on top of extra strength and extra stamina. And so then I just like walk in with this ridiculous health bar, ridiculous strength, ridiculous stamina, and then I do my summon, and then the boss walks up and is like, all right, so my name is, and then it's just like this, you just see this terrifying like nightmare run at them, and they're like, yeah, just like go. It's like a whack-a-mole suddenly, and the person's like, stop, and it just dies. And it just turns to dust, and then it's like enemy felled, and I'm like, I don't even know what that thing did. I don't even know what it's like. I don't even know what it can do. Does it even have weapons? Does it move weirdly? And then I'll see it in the wild. I'm like, I think I fought that once. And then it comes at me and it starts doing a move. I'm like, I don't even know what it's doing. What is this move? Is this its move set? And I'm like, I basically have to run up to something and then roll heavily away from it while I watch it do its moves. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I can fight that. But like, I have to learn how a boss works after I've already beaten the boss, because I don't know how it does anything. And it's hilarious. Like, I love
a lot of fun.
Yeah, like I love I especially love, because the summon takes a lot of the aggro away. I really appreciate that there's a lot of bosses that do this thing where they're like, oh, this guy, this is an idiot, I can fight this, and then they like feel a hit from behind them, like, wait, and they turn around, and then like the summon hits them really hard, and they turn around, like, wait, one of you's doing a lot of damage, which one is doing a lot of damage? And it like keeps trying to balance between which one it wants to do its main attack on. And it's really great for
I've seen them do that.
Yeah, it's really great for some bosses that have to do big windups, because they'll do this like big old windup on the like, okay, I'm committing to this enemy, and while they're doing that, another enemy's just like wailing on them. They're like, okay, I really need to do this windup. Like, I wish they didn't program it so long. And like by the time they finally go back down, they're already like almost dead. And like, oh, that was such a mistake. I shouldn't have committed to this attack. But it's like but then
this is such a whiplash from earlier, where you're like, this game's bullshit and it's unfair, and also I'm so overpowered I've never seen an enemy move.
But this is only for bosses. That's why I was like, I don't have any complaints about bosses, because I can just erase them from the game. My complaint is always about the enemies, which I can't always summon with. And since I can't dual team at some of these enemies, I have to like do it myself, which is fine until you realize that like most of the enemies come in packs of 8, especially rats, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna hit all of these rats, and then
fuck with rats.
And then the rats are like, by the way, we can all spam an attack 3 times a second. I'm like, what the fuck? And I have to like throw fire just to get them to like stagger at least a second, and then I have to like quickly run and like sweep them away, like go get out of here, because otherwise they'll just like bite, and by the time I'm done getting bit, even if I try rolling, like by the time I'm done getting bit, it's like half my health is gone. I'm like, what do I fucking do about these things? And they're so low, I basically need a, you know, like all of my attacks, like my club, is only going to sweep like 2 of them. I need something that hits like 360 degrees around me, or else I'm screwed. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
And
the one-handed R2 usually sweeps, right? Or is your weapon not like that?
It will hit 2 people.
R2.
So yeah, the one-handed R2 will hit, like it'll sweep, but only get about like 2 people before it's too heavy. And so he just resets it.
It's you say the rat like never mess with the rats. The rats they kill me. The
rats and the dogs, like
difficult.
The rabid dogs are also awful.
I was gonna say the dogs, and I was gonna say the Elden Rings has the easiest dogs that any From Software game has.
Yes.
And I thought that was the case, but I'm not gonna tell you that I was wrong. But I was wrong. I'm not gonna spoil it. Why?
They are not easy dogs. The wolves are the easiest things. I can like kick them over in a second. They just like, I don't know what they're doing. They like wake up from a nap and they
don't like doing anything.
Who is
and
that
when they
guy?
jump, they're like this big jump, and then they barely move. Like,
and the dogs are like someone accidentally gave them too many jumps. Like they just like jump,
Too
jump,
many
jump, 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 and you're
jumps.
like, okay, whoa, back up. How are you jumping like 4 times in a row? Can we just take a moment here? You jump once, maybe twice, and I'll swing. And the dog's like, no, I'm gonna do that fucking Zelda side hop that speedrunners do. They're like, and you're like this dog is crazy. What the fuck? And it only gets worse when you realize that, like, I don't know if I still don't know if they fixed it, but there's like a glitch with the dog that there's a rare chance that the dog will just do a huge chunk of, like, basically a huge percentage of damage to you unintentionally.
It has happened to me. Yeah.
And
it's like the
Unintentionally?
lightest attack. It's just like 70% of your health gone.
and you're like, what? I'm sorry, what is this animal?
Yeah.
What is? And so, like, any dog, I'm so scared of. Like, I don't want to get near you. You can technically one shot me, even though you're just a pointless enemy.
I think
what
they're
the fuck?
easy, but I didn't know better, and I'm not gonna spoil it for you if you don't know what it is. But yeah,
I think I've met everything at
Elden
this
Ring
point.
has the hardest dogs of all From Software games. Although I've only played Dark Souls and Elden Ring. So I don't know. Maybe Bloodborne has the harder dogs, like the crows.
Bloodborne's weirdly fucked.
Yes.
The
Or the
dogs,
snakes. Well, isn't that
the
a snake dog
dogs, the
somewhere?
werewolves, and there's a few things that just are a nightmare.
Yeah.
There's snake orgies in Bloodborne. I don't remember if they were hard. They were just weird.
Yeah, I remember you dying down there and losing like a lot of blood
A
echoes.
ball of snakes. I think that was mostly just because I wanted to get somewhere quickly, and I was trying to get back from a death or whatever. And like, that is the one zone where I don't know where I am. Like, I have no idea what that level's shaped. Like, it's true
needs a map.
that's true for some of the larger forests in Dark Souls 1 too, where I'm just like, why is this forest so big? Where am I?
Yeah.
Like, you explore the whole zone, get a bunch of items, die to the boss, and then it's just a confusion mode of like, how do I get back to that boss again?
Yeah.
I didn't like take a route. I went everywhere and then got there.
Elden Ring, if you don't look at the map, it's like that as well. But the map really helps a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a big blobby world. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't really have tight areas to play through so much. It's just like a big world to kind of sprawl around. So like playing without a map just doesn't make sense.
Some areas are a
Yeah,
little
it's
bit
a pretty-
narrower every once in a while.
It's
But not,
rare,
like,
but yeah, there
no,
are some.
it's rare,
A lot
yeah.
of like
I like
ruins
ravine.
and yeah.
Those are usually an extension of a more tight area anyway.
Yeah.
Like you come out of an elevator and then it's like, oh, this part of the overworld also still feels like a level for a bit.
Yeah.
Just going back to the deleting of people.
Wow.
My weapon in Elden Ring is it's in a stock, which is a piercing weapon, piercing sword, and I use it 2 hands, so I'm just going around poking people. And also I have the R2 is good because it's like a swing and it does slashing damage, I think. But I put like I don't know what the names of those things are, like a gem. It's a gem. I put a gem in it that does blood damage. The weapon normally doesn't do blood damage, but the power itself does blood damage. And I barely ever use it. And I know it's very powerful, but I don't use it because it's like a projectile of blood in front of me. And it just...
Yeah, the blood blades. Yeah,
the blood blade, yeah. But I never use it because I just like the weapon the other way. But I fought one particular summon that I saw a lot of blood before that summon showed up. It's not a summon. It's those invader type kind of player character.
Yeah, the NPC invaders.
Enemy.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of blood in that one, and it was I think it was in the academy, the Magic Academy. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. And I approached the enemy, and the moment the enemy was in range of me, shields up, a little parry shield, and I knew why. I knew why there was so many bloods, because it was a parry NPC, because NPCs often do that. And I was like, okay, power for this weapon. I two-shot it. Shot that dude because it goes through the shield, that particular power, and that was it. So that was the only time I deleted somebody, and I had like this secret weapon in my back pocket all along, and I never use it apart from when you try to parry me, you scum. Because parry sucks. Yep. I hate parrying.
My go-to parry counter is butt slamming. I have a skill that
you have a butt slam. No, you don't.
Yeah, so I put on my smaller club. I put a butt slam. So It's an ability where you just jump in the air and butt slam onto the ground, and it's really great for people that try to parry
That's
you.
one of the abilities.
Because you can't parry a butt slam, so it's just like somebody like, I'm gonna hold the shield. I'm like, "Eh," and just like land on them. They're like, oh, okay, well, I guess that works. That's
beautiful.
That's the go-to.
It's a Mario.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a
bosses
great
do
ability.
that so much,
and you can set it to heavy. So you could set it as a heavy butt slam, which is fantastic.
Beautiful. I love it.
There's some fun moves. There's some good Ashes of War in that game. There's so many good Ashes of War. It's stupid.
I barely look at them. I like.
You should not.
Yeah,
you should look at them a lot. There's so many. There's some damn good ones.
But you shouldn't.
They spoiled me by immediately giving me 3 quote unquote lone wolves.
Oh, they immediately give you the
quote lone unquote
the spirits of the wolves or whatever.
Yeah, it's like the first most accessible spirit, and it's like, well, I'm set. I got 3 giant wolves I could just summon, and they mob people.
Yep.
And it's always funny that they're called lone wolves. I'm like, there's
3.
Sir, there's 3.
Yeah. Well, it's a lone wolf pack.
Whatever.
Yes, a lone pack of wolves.
We're alone together. And
Yeah,
like, oh, actually, if you listen to the lore, there's always a guy that'll correct me, and I'm like, I don't care. It's on its face, stupid, and I don't need more explanation.
I don't think the lore works as well as Dark Souls did. There's a lot of things that are because it's Dark Souls, but I don't think the lore explains things like invasions and stuff like that.
I have no idea.
I don't. It's Elden Ring explains it a little bit.
Does it?
The idea is that any invaders that happen are other tarnished that are also trying to achieve the goal of the game. So they are all trying to become the Elden Lord or whatever. And so the idea is that any invaders are just other tarnished trying to steal the crown. And that's the in-game explanation for it. And so, but that, I don't know about Dark Souls. I assume Dark Souls is just like, it's a crazy world.
No, Dark Souls puts it front and center, actually. The reason why you're being invaded, like, or I suppose when you start getting invaded, it does that. It's like the whole thing about it's glimpses of, if you're going into multiplayer, it's glimpses of other worlds or whatever, or jolly cooperation in the case of
the
multiplayer
multiverse
specifically. But yeah, it's like they have this all convoluted in-game explanation for banal gameplay features of we're just playing a game together, sir. And, honestly, I'm not a big fan of that. I wish they had a little bit more abstraction. There's like item descriptions in particular. They insist on having item description. Like, what is an Ash of War? Do you know what an Ash of War is? No, of course you don't. You need to read the description. It might as well be called the Brips. Honestly, I wish they had called it the Japanese names because they probably sound cooler. And just like you need to read the description anyway.
Oh, I got 3 the Japanese names.
What is a remembrance? I don't know what a remembrance is. What is it? I don't like all these names that they. Seriously, I don't engage with a lot of the mechanics as readily because they are so inscrutable. Like I read them the first time, and half the description is about mentioning other things that I also don't know the name, what the explanation is. Just tell me.
Yeah.
It's an upgrade for the weapon, or it's like the material for upgrades. Or
people have to keep telling me that there's another, like when you open an item, you can press X to read its description. Because I always forget that that's a thing. I just look at its value to me. Like I just look at like, okay, what does it do for me? Is it going to upgrade my thing? Blah, blah, blah. And I'll get items that like have these other abilities. Like I have a stupid little pot head. Like I have a helmet that looks like a pot you can wear on your head. And it just makes it throw so that your cracked pots do more damage. And like I would have never known that, but you have to read the item description because it doesn't say it anywhere except for the item description. And like
can you explain what a cracked pot is? What is that?
Where else would it say than the item description though? That's the description of the item.
You could say it when you're looking at the stats for it. It can be like when you like the blood loss buildup.
The summary.
It's like in the summary of the item. And like, but it doesn't show up in like it doesn't show up in like the part, like where you like an ability. Like treat it as an ability of that item. So like instead of blood loss buildup, it's like increased pot damage or whatever. It's like, oh, okay, I get it. Haha, I don't need to read the weird lore about a pot that fits perfectly on your head, except it's upside down. Like, why do I need to read all that just to know that it does more damage? It's stupid. But I get it. It's, you know, it's Souls games are weirdly like Final Fantasy games where it's like, look, we made a lot of stupid words and we want to tell you all about them. And it's like, okay, well, I'll just let it happen.
I'm just astonished by how many items the game has.
It does.
The game has fucking so many.
I'm afraid of my own menu.
They're all new as well. Like,
I sell a lot of shit. Like, it's still so much.
Yeah, everything is new. That like I've not seen a single repeated weapon even. I don't.
Oh,
remember
I have.
any.
I have like 500 daggers. Good fucking god.
No, not that. No, I have,
you mean
I've seen
like
that. No, what I mean is from Dark Souls 3. Like they're not reusing things. Everything is new.
Excuse you, the Berserk sword is still in there. It's still there. I found it. I have that.
That's not Dark Souls.
It's been in every Dark Souls, so I think it's considered Dark Souls.
It's from somewhere else.
I think all three of them are there, actually. I think all three of the Berserk swords are there.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, because you have Guts' original sword, you have the Golden Age sword, and then you have the post Golden Age, and you have the Dragon Slayer sword. I think all three of them are in the game. But I don't know. I mean,
the primary case I think for repeating weapons is that there's weapons that drop off of people as random, so they're farmable. And so if you kill those guys enough, you're going to get the same weapon again. And some people very much specifically would like to get that weapon again.
Yeah,
there's they want to get a dual wield build.
Yeah, there's what's it called? I think there's an item for that too. There's like one of the pickled feet or whatever does that. Makes the items drop more frequently.
Yeah. Why is it called the foul pickled foot thing?
Because someone thought it'd be funny. It just. And
if you read the description,
like
it also doesn't tell you very clearly that it's the magic find.
Yeah, because there's two. There's the golden one, which is for more runes or souls or whatever, and there's another one that's for item find. I have like 50 of each of them because I never use items in Souls games for some reason. Like I don't know why. I just have a item aversion. I don't even use the crack pots. Like I think I have like 17 crack pots and I don't fucking use them, and I don't know why.
Tell me what those are. What is a cracked pot?
Cracked pots are just, think of them like they're just pots that you can fill with an item. Like basically, once you fill your craft book up enough, you get a recipe for every type damage. So fire, electricity,
you're talking about
holy.
your throwing weapon Estus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're basically just a throwing weapon.
You collect them like Zelda jars, and you're like, oh fuck! Like I specifically was really psyched about it because of the fact that I was like, even more Zelda style upgrade systems, because like that's like my favorite thing is like it's like the like how Dark Souls 2 had like the 2 separate Estus upgrades, and they're back in this one too, where it's like there's one thing that gives you a more total and one that gives you more potency, and it's like, yes, that's 2 things that I can like explore for. And yeah, one of them is that you get more pots, and that means that you have this specific thing that you can fill with pretty easily craftable like elemental, they're like fire bombs, but for every possible element essentially, and different recipes give you more. And it's like you have a limited supply of how many you can craft at a time. Like you're filling your Estuses manually essentially, and like you increase that pool by exploring and finding more pots, which you usually actually get from buying one pot from certain vendors you meet on the road. So if you check everyone's inventory, the 2 things to look for are a pot and a stone sword key thing.
God, yeah, the keys are...
Those are like both permanent and big deal things to find.
Yeah,
I haven't been buying them because I don't use them. So they replenish when you rest?
Yep. Or no, they replenish when you use it. So once you use it, it just comes back to your inventory. It's a one-time only use for the item you fill it with. So if you fill it with fire and you throw it, it just turns back into an empty cracked pot. But you don't lose the cracked pot.
So it's more like a balancing system of that the game wants you to have to use throwing consumables, but they also want to cap how many you can carry at once. And so so you increase your power at throwing consumables by finding more pots, because now you're like, well, now I have 5 and now I can just throw 5 of them. And some of those come in handy for certain bosses, especially if you want to like poison someone.
Yeah, they're the best ones are usually poison, poison, rot, and holy are the 3 best ones, because there's a lot of enemies that are like dark enemies that you can throw them at, and it does an obscene amount of damage compared to compared to elemental types that you can throw at some enemies. Like there's some enemies that are weak to fire, but it doesn't really do all that much. But I don't know, for some reason the guys that are weak to holy just really don't like holy bombs. They're just like, okay, stop. It's not. I'm done with it. But poison and rot are amazing to throw on people. If you can get an enemy poisoned, or like taking small hits over time, it's great. It's fun to watch that. Where you're like, haha, look at you.
I use daggers. I used a little bit of daggers for like aggroing enemies from afar or getting enemies that are far away or like above. And I assumed that was it for usable items. But I know
so
fire.
So there's two different types. There are cracked pots. There's three types. So there's cracked pots. There's another pot. I forget what it's called. It's like a pot something, and it's
a
like
non-cracked pot.
It's a thicker pot basically that you can throw. So you have like cracked pots, and then these like other thicker pots that you could put unique stuff in, and then there's perfume bottles, and they're all like the same thing basically in terms of like you fill them with something in the crafting menu and then you get them back after you use the item. And they're great, but yeah, obviously like he said, they come at like the cap is that you need to go find them or buy them all, and that is how you expand your arsenal. So for me, like I can probably kill a lot of enemies by just throwing pots at them. I have so many fucking pots. And I have a million crafting supplies. I think every time I run past something, I'm just spamming Y as I'm running. And so I'm just like, my whole box and my inventory is just full of stuff. So I can just craft indefinitely. But
well, sometimes it requires the matrimonial bud or the...
I've got so many.
Like that.
I've got everything. You want your weird rosebuds. You want your sacramental tears. You want your whatever it is. Andrew's got everything. I have everything.
I just love fake Dark Souls names.
No, actually, that is a real
I
item.
know, but it always feels like Fart Gurgle, the accursed.
Like let me look it up. Actually,
one of the lords is called the Dung Eater. Like I don't know, man. Some of these names are just like, can you tell?
He's got a pumpkin on his head.
It's insane to me that like a cutscene boss is named Dung Eater. Like, what the fuck? You did that on purpose?
What was
we
the
have
one
to all
where I was like,
what?
For like, how'd you land on that? Oh yeah, Leonine Misbegotten.
Oh yeah, I fought that one recently.
It's a really funny name. It's just so much.
It's a pretty good name.
It's just overkill and also confusing.
Yeah, because it's two adjectives.
And also, why is it in our? And then it feels like the words are backwards. Like you would have said them in the other order.
No, isn't Leonine like an adjective as well?
Yeah, I
so
think. I mean, it's not really a word people would use ever.
Yeah, it's not.
But it probably means lion-like.
Yeah. It's
Yep. Of or resembling a lion or lions, and I'm like, but wouldn't you call it like the misbegotten Leonin or something, not the Leonin misbegotten? I'm like, huh.
I've seen a lot of typos. I think that the game needs an English pass. They have a lot of.
They already had George R. Martin. What more do they need?
You defeated, yeah. It's yeah, but the thing is, like, for you defeated,
bring it back.
You defeated makes sense because it's like the art team. Like translating those things is a lot harder than translating just plain text.
Give it to me, you cowards. Standpoint.
But like things like item descriptions, come on, they're like some of them don't even make sense. Like the larval butterfly or whatever, the thing that allows you to respec your character. The description. I cannot understand if the butterfly has just been born or if it's never been alive. Let me see if I can.
What?
I don't know what these words mean.
Butterfly.
I don't remember. Spent this entire podcast talking about a game I haven't played for 3 weeks.
Did it even really?
Larval tear. That's the one.
And when I come back to this game, I will have not played it for at least a month. I'm sure.
That's crazy. How have you not played this for a month?
I would like to play it more. I'm just one, I played too much of it at the beginning, so then I had to get caught up on my backlogs of everything else that I was neglecting. But I've also been I've been editing my fucking video essay like it's a full-time job.
That makes sense, yeah.
Like it has to be finished. And I would like to have it done on my birthday, which is still 2 weeks away. I'm like, maybe I can make it and just have it done and uploaded, and then immediately reward myself by playing Elden Ring a lot again.
It's yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's gonna be 3 hours long. Fuck me.
I've been playing. I've been playing like twice a week, and still not enough.
Lot, like 3 or 4 times a week. I have enough episodes until September.
I have. If I keep up, I have like an hour. I'm doing hour episodes, and if I keep that up, it's like I'll be here for the next like 4 years. It's so many. It's like this is like 60 hours. I'm still not even like close to being done with the game. Like, what the hell? What am I gonna do?
Good.
Like I'm committed to this nightmare. I just
play it forever.
I don't want to. I do not want to.
I can't find the item in particular that I found. It looks like a larval tear, but it isn't. It's like it's a butterfly. And the description is just weird because they like have 2 sentences mixed together. I've seen that sort of weird in manga before. I know what I'm looking at. And it's just they need a new translation pass or something. I say translation, but really, it might be in the original in the original text as well, because Japanese allows for that sort of nonsensical structure sentence because you can interpret things multiple ways. And it's not nonsensical; it makes sense. It's just Japanese. Andrew would know; he knows this.
I would have to. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously everything is. There's weird particulars about language in Japan, or words in Japan. Like using a word is more often, oftentimes, it's using it for 2 words in reality. So someone will say something like, that's a butterfly, but like the kanji is for like butt or fly. And you're like, haha, I get it. It's like an ass fly. And I'm like, no, I don't, because English doesn't do this. So like,
meanwhile,
all I get is butterfly. Like,
can you? That's. Imagine the freedom of making jokes in Japanese, like text messages in Dark Souls. You just say, butterfly, and it's a funny joke. In English, it's all butthole thing, and it's just like so simple. It's always the same one.
Finger, butthole.
Finger, butthole, try head.
Offer rear.
All that. I found one that was really funny. I'm going to share it with you, and it's crass. But we were talking about buttholes already and fingers, so crass. So there's this big giant up in the first big castle that you visit in the game. Or I guess you can visit. You can go elsewhere, but normally it's the big castle. And there's this big giant in front of a door. And like you fight the giant and there's that shimmering sound of a giant dying and all that. And then I walk up the stairs that this giant was guarding. And there's this little plinth, this sort of like thing sticking out of the ground that looks like an obelisk, but it's like only like half a meter tall. And it's like knee high. And you go up there, and somebody had put a message right on top of that little plinth thing, on that little obelisk. And I read it out loud. I opened the message and jumped on top of that thing to read it. And I read it, and it said, "If only I had a giant, ellipses." And I was immediately in my head, I was like, oh yeah, because the giant was right here. And, they killed it to put the message on. And the message just said, "If only I had a giant butthole," because of the plinth. And I thought that was very funny. And I am
get it, butthole.
Butthole. Hey! Yeah, it's not the butthole as in your asshole.
No, there's like the equivalent of like destroy butthole or something at like every single one of those stone pillars. That's
every single one
indicates that you can summon or something.
Everything.
Like fucking clockwork every single time.
Every single time. It's impressive. I do not read messages because of that, because it's just wasted screen time.
They're so consistent. Oh, is this a dark nook of some sort? Is it going to be a reference to having sex? If
is
only
it a woman?
I had maiden or something. Yeah.
Is it going to be a really tasteless comment? Yes.
So I've turned off internet as I do in these games. So I do not get messages at all. I do not interact. I don't get to see the messages people put down. People can't invade me.
They don't invade me either. I don't understand what's going on. I like it.
Well, I think you only get invaded when you summon a player.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's beautiful.
It's only when you. Yeah. It basically you have to interact with multiplayer, and or you have to interact with collaborative multiplayer to be a target.
But I like
But
I like the messages though. They help.
Yeah, but I
especially
don't.
with
See, I don't want messages. I don't want any. I don't need any of that shit in my life. But
like they
but,
help
like,
without you reading. Like the first invisible wall that I found, or rather, wall that is visible but isn't actually a wall. The first one that I found was just I saw a bunch of messages in front of this clear wall, and I just rolled against the wall, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And then it's like another one right after, and another one, and another one. You know, invisible walls, or
what you
I
should
say
be
invisible
doing
wall, but it isn't.
is you
This
should be
game
rolling
lets
at
you
every
believe
wall.
that illusory walls don't exist for so long, and
It
then
does,
you
right?
find one, and you're like, "What?
And guess
what
what?
the fuck?"
There's even other things.
Oh yeah, no. There's enough weird tricks that you start to believe really weird messages, and you're like, "Yeah, but what if they're right, but it's
What if-
weird?"
Yeah. But
No,
if
I
they tell you to
got
jump,
stuck in a dungeon that dead ended, so I just started hitting every single wall over and over again because I couldn't figure out why it stopped or why I couldn't figure out where to go next. And then I killed every single stupid little pointless crab in the room, thinking maybe it's a 100% kill room or something. I'm like, I don't know. There's blatantly a door it's a gate
that's
I can
the
see
dungeon.
through, and it don't
That's
open.
the dungeon.
And I'm like, what do you want from me?
that's the one. I'm pretty sure that's the one.
There's
I don't know.
some goofy
I
shit around.
I can't remember all of that. I instinctively roll on every wall, like just by habit.
Oh, does rolling
I-
work on illusory walls in this game?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you roll onto a wall, it breaks it. So
I can't remember if the rules were different from game to game or not either.
They
I
were.
think there was a Dark Souls game that didn't let you roll on walls, but
The first one.
I knew that I was like the first time I saw an illusionary wall or an obvious one. I was like, okay, so this must be an illusionary wall. So I rolled at it and it went away, and I was like, oh, good, we're gonna have a good time now. And so just every time I'm in like a catacombs or something, I'm just like just rolling through every single wall, and it's like, okay, well, if
Do
there's
not
something
trust any
here,
of these walls.
I'll get it. Yeah, I love illusionary walls. I love the dumb,
That's
like the
what they're
dumb
called.
ones. Like there's a really good dumb one to lead to a manor, and it's just you can tell it's an illusionary wall. And I wanted to see. I was like, huh. Okay, well, there's an illusionary wall here.
Excuse me, Andrew. Excuse me. It's illusory. Just
Is it
repeating
illusory?
500 comments that got mad that I say.
I called them
exactly
invisible walls, so I think I'm attracting all
Wait,
the comments.
they're not-
That's the
they're not
most
invisible.
incorrect. they're
They're
very
super incorrect.
specifically visible. That's the problem.
You turn them
They're the
into
opposite of
invisible
the-
walls, technically.
That's-
I've been
that's
corrected
not how
so
any of
many
it works.
times.
But yeah,
They're
I
not
saw
visible- Or walls, or they're not invisible or walls either.
Windmill.
one that was really obvious, but I was like,
windmill
you
is
know
the
what?
worst.
I'm not going to interact with this. So I got on the horse and jumped over a gap on the cliff to get around the wall, and then just got behind the wall and rolled it from behind. I was like, oh, look, I didn't have. I could have just.
I have not.
I could
seen
just
this
skip
one.
it. Yeah, it's it's on
found
the
it-
way to. It's on the way to the hand manor, the handy manor. I guess I should call it.
I've not been there. I found
Yeah,
one
it's-
that
you'll
was
know
like
when you get
pretty
there.
obvious. This feels like a reference.
I hate it.
I wonder if it's a reference to the first illusionary wall or illusory wall in Dark Souls 1 that you find, the one with the bonfire behind, because it's kind of obvious once you
What
see
is
it
the
from
first
afar.
one in Dark Souls 1?
In
The one
Dark-
before the garden. Next to
Yeah.
the door, you have to pay 20,000 souls to open or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you don't find the one on the left that's a secret bonfire, then it's a long run back every time you die in the place full of trees that have one snake on them.
Mhm.
It's like the Moonlight Butterfly is
I like
the
that.
easiest boss ever, but the path there is so long, and if you don't have that bonfire, then the bonfire that you spawn at is like at the blacksmith, I think.
Oh,
I
God.
like that level. Darkroot Basin is no wait, that's Darkroot Garden. Yeah.
The one that's
I like
full
that
of a
level
bunch of stone statued men. Oh man, remember
yes.
that the precursor to all of the animals in
Yeah.
Elden Ring were in Darkroot. It was the Sonic the Hedgehog cat monster things that are in exactly
Oh,
one
that's
room
true.
and never again. I always forget they're in the
fuck?
game because they're so weird and they never come up again.
It's not a room, it's outside.
Yeah, it's just one,
Yeah.
like one video game room.
Right.
It's like
It's
you like
3 of
climb
them,
the
I
ladder
think.
from the Hydra that's behind the lake
yeah,
or
I
something,
remember.
and then there's just like a bunch of Sonic the Hedgehog like fucking.
And they're difficult.
I don't even know what they are. Like, like I can't
They're really
identify
difficult.
what kind of beast they are, and they're in one room, and it's like, what the fuck is that? And now in Elden Ring, it's like, what if everybody rolled like Sonic? And that was just like the primary way of locomotion. You think that's a goat? No, it's Sonic.
You think that's a
hate
horse?
the-
No, it's a cow.
I
love
hate
it
the
so
rolling
much.
goats. Stupid ass.
Everything moves like it's from the video game Everything.
I like the running goats attack me every once in a while, or in Lingrave specifically.
I've had a
there's
few
one
instances
boss-
where everyone around me is mad and I don't know what I did.
Yeah, I don't understand that. It was there's a lot of weirdness in that game. There's one place where lightning is just showing up, and I think that
Yeah,
might
there's a
have
few of
to do with-
those.
that might have to do with the reason why everything attacks me. Lightning is screwing up with their antennas or something. Because of course they have antennas. I mean, they're goats.
Well, the lightning's your primary source of a resource.
I don't use that resource, but I know what it is.
Yeah. It's like fulgrim something, I think. It's like a lightning-y word. One of the types of lightning-y words that I only kind of know is lightning-y because of its association with lightning in a lot of different video games. Everyone reading from the same thesaurus.
Yeah. What is it used for? Do you know?
I don't know. I haven't played the game in 3 weeks. Do you think
I
I know
really-
how a recipe of something?
I agree with you. You said that
Are-
you don't like the crafting system, and I agree with you. I wish it
Are you
wasn't.
talking about the?
I don't like
the-
crafting in almost any. If it's not survival horror or survival in general, I guess, then crafting is just kind of pointless as a mechanic.
I do feel bad because it's a pretty robust crafting system. Like, there's a lot you can fucking craft, but I like use almost
Nah,
none of
that's
it.
not robust.
It's robust
It's
in
a
like
system
the
I
amount.
ignore until I get stuck, and then it's like, well, let's see if I can fucking throw some shit together with like tape and scissors. And then
There's
and then
actually
that's, and that's how I got my third Elden Ring or whatever the fuck they're called.
there's actually some pretty good stuff to craft
I
in
don't
there.
know
Like,
what they're
I really like
don't
the glow rocks. The glow rocks are super useful. Because the glow rocks,
the glintstones. Or
yeah, the
whatever.
glintstones tell you if you can survive a drop, and that's really handy.
Oh, isn't
Um,
that the colored?
Yeah, if you
rainbow?
drop the
yeah,
if you drop
the colored
glowing
rocks that have been in every game.
yeah, and so if you
And now
drop
you have to make them.
the sound that it makes when it falls on the ground tells you if you could survive dropping down there or not.
How did you find that out?
I found that out by dropping it and going, oh, well, it didn't break, but it made this like really loud sound, and so I jumped down there and I died, and I was like, oh, that sucks. And then I used it a second time later on, and I dropped a rock down, but it wasn't as far, and it made a softer sound, where it was like tsk, like a kind of like a normal sound of a stone falling, and I was like, oh, okay, well, here we go, and I dropped down again, but I didn't die. I was like, what? Is it just a sound-based thing? So I did it again, where I tried, like, I just dropped something really far down, and I hear it go, like, it's like a crash, where it's like, kersh, and you're like, oh my god.
Such a hidden mechanic.
Yeah, it's not gonna, and no, it doesn't explain, I don't think it explains it anywhere to you. I don't think there's any
No,
point
yeah,
in time
yeah.
which explains it.
I think
but yeah,
somebody
it's
in
just-
my chat told me about it, and I was like, okay, I haven't seen anything saying that. I'm never going to use that because I can't just say, oh, somebody in my chat said this.
I still don't trust it. I have a talisman that basically negates fall damage.
Oh yeah, I've
and
seen
so
that. I've had that.
and so I just use that. I
How
just check and go.
Does it negate fall damage until you die,
Yes.
or does it
So
negate all
unless
fall
it's-
damage?
It negates fall damage until it's enough to kill you. So if it's enough
Okay.
to, so that's why I use that rock.
I've seen
It's
that
like,
item, and I'm like, I don't trust that.
No,
That's
so
very
if you-
open to interpretation. I don't believe
Yes.
it does what
So
it says it does.
combined with the glintstone, it's a really powerful item because you drop it and you hear and you go, okay, I can survive that drop, but I don't want to take damage from that drop. So you put the medallion on or talisman on, jump down, land, no problems. And then you just take that talisman off and you move on with your life. It's a really good combo. But again, you would need
I'm
to know
very
that
resistant to all gameplay that involves putting a thing on for a second, then taking it off again.
Yes.
I get really
Yes.
annoyed by that loop.
Mm-hmm.
it is
Mhm.
annoying, but there have been like
Iron
2 or 3
boots.
times. Yeah, there are like 2 or 3 times where it saved me, where I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll put this thing on, and I like drop down to a ledge, and an enemy comes out. It's like, I'm gonna kill you. It's like, ah! Like it's like, oh, thank God I didn't fucking take any damage here because I would have died.
Yeah,
like it's
I feel like that there's it's like 5 feet is the difference between 0 damage and death.
Yes, somewhere around there.
It's annoying too because like so I tried a lot of stuff in the early beginnings to like, okay, what are the limits of this game? And like my big limit was, what is the limit of jumping with a horse? And like I know that if you jump with the horse, like so if you jump off a ledge with the horse, you get a second jump. And so, but you know, if you fall off, you just like accidentally run off a ledge, you can't do a double jump. So I was trying to see like how far can I jump off a ledge with the horse and then do another jump. What if you ride off? You can do a double jump still.
If you ride off, you can do a single jump, which is double jump. I think they changed it. I was playing around with the horse, and I say playing around, I was flailing wildly, trying not to die. And I got the impression that was happening to me. I didn't jump off the ledge, but I was able to just sort of like save myself by double jumping.
Oh yeah, I didn't. It wasn't. Yeah, I know when I first started the game, like when it first came out, that was definitely not an option. Because I tested that where I was like, I just would run off a cliff and try jumping to see if I could negate the fall damage, and it wouldn't work. But if I jumped off and then jumped again, I would be fine. And so I just kept doing that to figure out like, what's the height here? Can I jump off like literally the highest point I can get to? Like, can I jump off a huge cliff down to the very bottom? And there's like this weird wall where you can jump, and then the game just says like, no more double jumping. And it will just cut it off, even though you have an extra jump, and it could save you. It commits basically saying like, you've jumped too far, this should kill you. We will not let you survive this. And it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of poopy. But like, so then it tells me that I just need to like, once I feel like I'm gonna die from this jump, I do another double jump right before I feel like I'm about to reach that barrier, and then usually the horse just dies. Like, I won't die. It will just like be enough for the horse to be like almost dead, and it'll be like, ugh! And I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine.
I think that's worse though.
Yeah.
Are you sure if you just drop, it kills you?
Yes. Yeah, that is that I can assure you with, because it will.
From what I've heard, all forms of double jumps increase your fall damage.
Yeah, that's what I heard, and what I thought was the case as well.
I think there was some guy that did like a hyper extended breakdown of the whole thing, and people keep linking it, and I keep not watching it.
I guess maybe I just gotten lucky. I did not know that. That sucks. I mean,
aren't people just telling you live old time?
I mean, no. I mean, to be fair though, I'm not using the horse. I don't use the horse except for like running around from places, but I don't do any platforming with the horse. So
there's some places so many people have pointed that out. I'm like, how have they not been like just saying it to you every time that they see you ever question it?
I think people are always busy just being enamored with my ability to just like steamroll enemies, and they're just like, oh god, all right.
Enemy
I found a whole town where you have to platform specifically with a horse, and it's super weird, but it's cool, it's fun. But it's like, yeah, if you're not platforming the horse, get ready, because you're gonna get to.
No, I can do it.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
Yeah, I can do platforming with a horse. I just don't care to. I don't really have I rarely have a need to. Like, I can usually just jump.
I think it's harder as well, because the horse sometimes doesn't want to stop. Like, if you're sprinting, if you sprinted once, coming to a crawl is so difficult for some reason. Like, you have to stop the horse and then.
Yeah, the horse will definitely like just keep running sometimes. Like the tombstones. There's like tombstones built into the wall of cliff sides.
The death platforms.
I always do those on foot.
Oh, do you? I can. So I usually climb up them. I don't drop down them. I climb up them, and so I use the horse to climb up those.
Some of them let you do that, but not all of them.
Yeah, some of them don't. But there's usually like a cliff face close to the top. Because usually they go in a pattern, they'll usually like go in a weird pattern that allows me to jump onto like a lower edge of the cliff, but it's like right over the edge. So if I fuck up, then I just careen off the edge. And so I usually basically land onto there and then immediately jump onto the, like do a double jump onto the cliff side and then get up. But again, it's so rare I ever need to do that. I mostly just run through every place, do my best to find every single whatever you call it, every single grass I can find, and then then I can just teleport wherever I need to. Yeah.
You've played for a billion hours now. Have you finally met the wolf yet?
Yeah. I've already done his quest. I've done all of his quest line. I'm done.
I feel like
with
last
him.
time we talked, you hadn't even found him yet. I'm like,
no,
but I know how, because the world's fucking huge. But you're like talking about how you're perfect. You're like completionism scraping the starting zone. And I'm like, well, there's a certain thing to find at some point.
Yeah,
in the starting zone?
He's in the forest, so he's in the forest, which is
in southern part.
He's in the Lost Woods.
So the problem here is that you'll hear him, but the only way to find him is you need to go and talk to a merchant, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that guy," and he tells you how to summon him.
The design of a lot of the game really heavily assumes you're going to revisit the merchant at the first ruins a lot of times. There's several things that are hooked into the idea you're going to keep revisiting him, and that was a brave assumption.
Yes, it was a very incorrectly brave assumption, because I basically
guess that
visited,
one character keeps showing up at that place every night, but not if you just like go somewhere slightly different. then she gets permanently missed and you never see her, and I'm like, what?
Oh, does she? I got lucky.
I think it was. I think it's if you enter the second zone, essentially, like the one that's to the west, and it's like, bro, I went there in like 2 hours. Like all you have to do is ride your horse over there, and you're like, here I am. Like it's not far. Like the game's not that massive, so it's like it's a very short ride to be like, what if I go left? And then you're there, and then it's like I guess that's the trigger to permanently miss her existing.
The game is loosey-goosey with certain like quest failure things, but that's always been
I
the
say
case with Dark
existing.
Souls.
She just skips to her next story beat.
She skips, yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's one mission that somebody asked you, "Hey, save this person," and I'm like, "Okay, I'll save this person," and then I'm roaming around, and that person invades me, and then I kill that person, and it says this person has died, and I'm like, "Oh boy," but then it turns out no. That person
you're
is fine.
I remember killing her.
That's weird. It's really weird.
I only realized a bit later. I'm like, wait a minute, that's the same name I just fought.
Yeah.
Have you guys met the Pope Turtle?
That was an extra mess because you have to get a specific item to save that character. Yeah. And it's from a boss fight. And I killed that boss fight while dying simultaneously. So I didn't get a pop-up that the item was acquired. So I kept looking for it.
Oh no, yeah.
Because you don't know you get it from the boss fight. I just fought the boss fight because it's there, and it's logically seems like you'd get them. But then I didn't get it because I didn't get a pop-up saying I got it. But I did have it. But I kept searching anyway because I didn't know I had it because I died. Because you get credit for kills when you die at the same time.
That boss is fun. Or
more specifically,
really fun.
I died and my summon companion killed the boss.
Killed the boss? Your summon kept dying for you.
Yeah, my summon killed the boss before I finished dying, basically. So while I was fading out, I got credit for the kill. So I got the souls, but I didn't. I got the item, but it didn't tell me I got the item because he drops 2 items, and the second one is the one you need for the quest. But I didn't press A to get rid of the first item because I was dying, and so then it just fades to a loading screen. And when you get back, the pop-up's gone. So you just have to it was just a surprise that was in my inventory. And by in my inventory, I mean I gave up eventually and just talked to the NPC to be like, did I do it yet? I don't even know. Because I pick up things passively all the time, so maybe I just didn't notice. Or all those times you like pick up you see a glowy ball item that's just like on a precarious ledge or at an obvious trap, so you just run through and grab it, but then you don't like know what it was because you're too busy not dying to the thing you're afraid of. And sometimes just on autopilot, I'll like open chests or things and not register what I was even getting and be like, wait, I should be thinking about what I got.
I like that it shows on the lower right corner of the screen for a little longer than the center one. That's really good. That's really good.
Unless you die.
Unless you die.
Yeah.
The fighting the wolf thing was kind of funny for me because it was the only quest in my mind that I remembered. Yeah, I need to find this person in the Mistwoods and do this clicky thing with the hands. There's a gesture that you have to do. And then I come across that place. Yeah, snapping. That's the one. And I come across that place, and I was just going around and being like, "Oh, this is there's a building. Let's get out of the horse and walk in because that's how I do." And then all of a sudden, I hear this wolf howling, and I'm like, "That sounds like a person pretending to be a wolf."
It's really funny to me that it just sounds like a dude.
It sounds so much, but I said it like as an instinct, and then it happens again. I'm like, wait a minute, that's what this is, because I didn't know I didn't know it was Blade, or I didn't know who it was, because the quest was just there's or Blind, yeah. He pronounces it differently than every other character, but he's the only person who actually is Welsh. So his name is the way he pronounces it the correct way, because everybody else says it wrong. Well, yeah,
that's his story. That's his story arc. Nobody will say my name correctly.
Yeah.
Wow.
But then, because I didn't at the time, I knew there was a wolf character, but I didn't know it was that one quest. And then I did do the thing, and then he shows up, and I'm like, "What the fuck?"
How did you not know it was the quest? The quest is that you tell the guy you heard a wolf howling in the
Oh, I'm very distracted.
ruins.
I don't connect the dots. I'm terrible.
I was gonna say, like, the through line is you have to encounter him first and then go ask the merchant about.
I don't know where I
about the
encountered
guy.
him.
He's always on the same spot in the ruins. He's just sitting there howling. It's just you hear the howling, and then you ask the merchant about him, and then he gives you the emote to interact him. And just like with real dogs, apparently you snap your fingers once, and he's just like, he's down, and he just trusts you.
So what happened likely was that I got teleported in one of the scummy traps, and then I was running away from a huge bear, and then I must have gotten past that horse or something while I was trying not to die to the huge bear who was throwing bear paws at me. And that's probably how then when I went to the merchant, just out of habit, I suppose, I saw that message and being like, I heard howling in the woods. And because the message doesn't actually say what it is, it's just weird howling in the woods. And then the merchant goes on a diatribe about Blythe? Maybe.
Blythe.
Which is the Welsh word for wolf.
Yep.
That's why.
Add him to the list of wolves whose name is Wolf.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Wait, was it you who told me that, or did I see that
Yeah.
elsewhere? Okay, there we go.
Trying to remember, like, isn't it also like it's like doesn't Haida literally mean hyena too?
Yeah.
In Japanese. And like, aren't half the Agretzko characters actually just named what the animal they are or something? But they give us the Japanese name, so it's less obvious. There's just a surprising number of characters you see who are just the name of the animal, but not in English. So it's a surprise. Like, wow, that's a new name.
What does it mean?
I brought up a few times though. That's the really weird reverse version. Is that there's a lot of foxes in various media that are named Renard, and the first glance thing for that is that it's because the French word for fox is renard. But the reason why the French call foxes renard is because of a story about a fox named Renard that was so popular it became the new name for foxes, basically, like Kleenex being tissue. Like the brand name took foxes over, like the story of Renard the fox.
That's like calling bulls Ferdinands or Rex's dogs instead of I don't Rex's know what dogs. Famous or lassies. Actually, I say lassie. How is it pronounced?
Lassie.
That's lassie. Yeah.
Lassie. Okay, there you go.
I don't know anything about lassie, but I recognize.
But
that
I do know it's pronounced like lassie.
Collie.
Lassie, Yeller.
Yeah.
Other dogs that get shot or something.
Yeller?
Well, it was old at the time, but the name is Yeller, right?
It has a title.
I don't know. The old could be its name. Dog names are weird.
They changed
the
dog's name, or did they call a baby dog Old Yeller? That sounds cruel.
Did they know it when it was young?
How is it cruel? The dog doesn't know. The dog doesn't know English. It's not upset by it.
Still, it's weird. It's like that time.
It's like when your parents called you stupid as a baby. You didn't know they did that, but they did it all the time. It's just, it's fine.
I once had a cat who was female, and I didn't know when it was a baby because they didn't look like it. And so I gave him, because pronouns. We always use male pronouns for him as well. And I gave him a male name. And then we figured out that it turns out he was female. But we kept the name because, of course, it was the cat's name.
How do you give a male name? It should always be an ambiguous word that has no gender. Like that's every animal name should always be
a little cat. Like I went and got the cat. I adopted the cat. And I was like, oh, I really wanted a female cat. And my friend was like, oh, but I don't have a female cat. I have these two male cats. And I was like, I picked the prettiest one because that's how you pick cats. And I took the cat home and everything was normal. And then all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, but after a few months, wait a minute, that's not what those are.
See, if your cat was named Banana, it wouldn't have mattered.
It wouldn't, but it was named Chico. Is short for Francisco. Francisco. Might have heard the name. Francis. It's Francis. Francis is non-gendered in English.
I was gonna say, isn't Francis a non-gendered name? You could just use Francis for everything.
Because in Portuguese we have Francisco and Francisca, which is just the last letter changes, and it's the same name except the last letter changes for masculine and feminine.
Stop changing your letters.
But no, must have everything. Well, names are the ones that are common, but tables are not. That tables are weird.
Stephanie and I just take turns saying horrible things to Kiki, but in a happy voice, and then she wags her tail and gets really excited, and that's just a fun game.
That's exactly how Shadow lives his life. It's just being constantly insulted, but happy about it because it's done in such a nice tone.
Yeah, and being looked at and interacted with, and that's all I wanted.
I must be loved.
I can die now.
Dogs would be the ultimate. Dogs would be the ultimate YouTubers. I'm being interacted with and looked at. I'm happy.
Ever happy.
I mean, they would definitely. They'd be hard to have a parasocial relationship with because they would be kind of more going after you. Like, give me attention, pet me, tell me things you like about me. You're like, okay, well, it's a little much. I don't like that.
Yeah, dogs would be a little too needy to be a streamer.
Yeah.
People showing up on chat to be like, hey, how are you doing? And the dog would be immediately lost from the game and be like, how are you doing? What's going on with chat today?
Friend, new person. Hello, how's it going? Tell me everything about your life story. What kind of food do you like? What kind of houses do you live in? Do you like dogs? I'm a dog. You should really like dogs. Like,
it would just be whoops, all greetings. No gameplay.
They would I mean, dogs would just be let's chat streamers. They would just talk all the time.
This is
so dumb. I'm just thinking, like, do dogs have like, if dogs were VTubers, would they have human models? Like
reverse furries.
No, because VTubers also have human models.
Like, would a dog VTuber?
I mean, there definitely are furry VTubers
for sure. Yeah, but
like,
it's not.
What would a dog choose? Would it be more on the side of like an anime person, or would it be like more Mr. Peanut Butter? Like, what is
sentient tennis ball?
It probably would be a dog.
Tennis ball.
I don't know if that'd be a good example
idea.
In
things would just go into Pajama Sam territory, like just abstract creatures.
You would just have a lot of like dogs watching a tennis ball and slapping their monitors, trying to watch the VTuber.
Look, in Cloudpunk, when Samus wanted to be an android, he didn't pick a person; he picked a dog. So that's I think dogs would have dog VTubers. Is it Samus? No, that's from Camus. What's the name of the dog in Cloudpunk? No, in Cloudpunk.
Oh, Camus.
Camus, that's the one. Almost.
And there's a lot of comments about how it might be mispronounced.
Camus.
Oh, in the game?
But I don't care. I love him, and I would die for him, and I almost could a few times, I think, in the story.
Oh.
He's really written to be like the goodest boy, but not in necessarily a tropey way. I really liked his character.
I am curious about the sex. That fucking voice. That fucking voice actor is so fucking funny.
The part that sort of like really called to me the most was when there's this character that passes that dies, and so the main character is sad, and the Camus or Camus yes, and Camus is like moving on and just like, and the main character says, hey Camus, are you not sad? or do you not miss him or whatever? And he's like, yes, I miss him, but like he's moving on because there's, I think it was because there's another character, the little girl, and he's like, that's how dogs do a little. If, as long as you have attention to them, and even though they lost somebody close to them, they just sort of like move on. And like that was the most dog-like line. It's subtle in a subtle way that the game has. It's just that bit of that loss and handling dog loss.
For context, Andrew, there's this game called Cloudpunk where you play as a delivery driver in a floating hovercraft in one of the last cities on Earth, basically. And and when you moved here from somewhere else. And the most tragic plot point that's built into this thing is that you had to, like, it's like an all new cyberpunk horror. You had to sell your dog's body. So your dog, like your AI dog, like it's just a chip in your taxi. Like he's just talking to you through the car and he doesn't have a body. And so like it's one of the things you, without even having to spell it out, immediately in the back of the player's mind, you're like, well, we got to save up to buy him a body. He's got to be a dog again. And he like actually starts having a crisis about whether or not he's a dog or not anymore at some point. What? Like an identity crisis because he's a car. And it's like, well, do you feel like a car? It's like, I am a dog. He's fucking great. He's so good. He's there, and he's there the entire game. The entire game, you have an AI dog talking to you, and it's the best idea.
I think I would have. I think I would have gotten my AI dog a car.
Yeah, you can change the car as well, right? But it's still the same. It's still the same dog.
Yeah, well, you just unplug them and take them with you. At one point, they try to. The scariest fucking sequence of the entire game is the fact that someone carjacking your car, and remotely you're trying to yell voice commands to eject Camus's chip. Otherwise, you'll never see him again.
Oh my god!
Like, oh fuck! They're stealing my dog, and also my car and my job, I guess. But my dog.
I would destroy them. I would like, I mean, I don't know. I would like, I guess, is it like a first person shooter like Cyberpunk, or is it just a?
It is a game where you like drive cars. It originally
Cyberpunk should
originally had a far away third person camera when you're driving and a really far away fixed camera when you're walking around. That was like panoramic. It's all voxel graphics and stuff. But they between the time when I Let's tried it and when I actually did my series on it like a year or two later, they patched in first person mode. So there's a cockpit. You can see the inside of the car when you're driving, which is somewhat less ideal because always, like, obviously third person's always better, but first person looks so good. And walking around first person is fucking fantastic. That game is so beautiful because of how its art direction and it's like it's lighting and it's fog and it's like colors and stuff. It's just every time you walk up to a person, they're a horrifying Lego man because they were meant to be seen from like 200 feet away because it originally had like a Diablo camera when you were walking around. But everything else about the game is so upgraded by walking around in first person that you're like, this is worth it. But you pretty much just walk around and talk to people, drive to your objectives. Sometimes you have a binary choice, like a moral choice to make in a quest, and the choice is expressed via you choosing to drive to one of two places. But it's mostly just a lot of dialogue, so it's a really chill, just hang out and enjoy the story kind of game. And you get to hang out with the dog the whole time.
It's so many ideas though. Like it's a perfect game of like, look at all these new ideas that we can keep coming up with. Every new character is like a new thing.
Oh yeah,
every
like
new quest
the actual plot is actually relatively weak when it finally starts trying to happen because so much of the game is actually just this anthology of you picking up various passengers and each of them having their own individual story.
Mm-hmm. Huh. I thought like that's what Cyberpunk should have been. Like,
it was a lot better than Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
As long as I can save the dog, that's all that matters.
Gotta save the dog, Andrew.
Cyberpunk have a dog?
No.
They didn't put a dog in Cyberpunk?
That's the true dystopia. Zero dogs.
They have dogs in The Witcher. Why didn't they?
Maybe there's a dog there, but I didn't
have
time to go look for dogs. I was busy trying to get out. Like, I just wanted to beat the game as fast as possible. I needed to 100% it without having to waste my time doing anything else. So it was kind of more of a murder spree, honestly.
Okay, I typed Cyberpunk 2077 dog, and all of the results are heavily photoshopped weird bullshit. And then and then that one dog that's on the dash of your car at the beginning of the game.
That's just like rubbing it in.
Yeah, I do remember there's a dog bubble head on your dash at one point. And that's it. That's the dog in the game.
Actually, now that I think about it, Cyberpunk isn't necessarily a dog kind of setting.
What?
Because it has
settings,
so much...
dogs.
No, but like
Checkmate.
think of post-apocalypse, for example, is a very dog setting. Anything that's Fallouty or like The Last of Us is very dog type setting, if you know what I mean. Like as a good character to accompany your characters and stuff. But I think Cyberpunk, there's a little bit of cat in it, even though dog is good as well. Does that make sense?
No.
What have you said?
Like, for example, pirates. Pirates is cat, right?
Pirates is parrot.
Is cat. Parrot is, yeah, but like, of course there's a parrot, but the cat is there because, you know, it eats the rats in the ship. Because it is, you know,
pirates are. There's a parrot and there's a monkey. The end.
Should you have should you have a cat and a parrot? That seems kind of dangerous.
You should. They don't like each other, but that's fine. Like boats have cats because of the mice. That's normal, right? Cats. It's actually a pretty important reason why cats are associated with liking fish is because of boats and fishers. But my point is, Cyberpunk, I think cats are good because it talks more to the contemplative nature of the setting.
What?
Than, for example, a post-apocalyptic thing where it's more the grit and sort of like the outdoorsmanship and thing. That's dog, right?
No, dog just cute.
No, cat is cute.
Eh.
I mean, cats are cute, but dog also cute.
But dogs are rugged.
Like, why not having any pets is a bad world? Like, that's
cats are a threatening dice roll.
Are they?
That's true as well.
There's a much nicer track record with random dogs than there is with random cats.
Sure. Yeah, that's true.
I think you just need to understand the way of cats.
Oh well, let's just compare Twitter accounts between fucking can you pet the dog and can you pet the cat. Let's see which one wins. Oh shit! Second one doesn't exist, or maybe it does. I don't know. But it's not. Can you pet the dog?
You can't pet the cat. The cat
Checkmate.
does that weird thing that where the belly almost
kills
touches
you.
the ground. Or it kills you. Speaking of kills you,
you pet the dog and it melts, and you pet the cat and it turns into knives.
CD Projekt Red, they in their Witcher games always have had cats, but they have always hissed at Geralt because that's like a setting thing that they don't like. Cats don't like Witchers in the setting, so all the cats hate Geralt. It's got to do with magic and the whole trope of cats being able to see demons, and the way that it works is that they can see the rifts into the other worlds, and that's why they hiss when. That's very consistent, especially in Witcher 3. It happens a lot, but it also in other Witchers where you're just going around, like a cat sees you and they're like immediately. Really funny.
Did he delete his comment?
Who did?
Someone deleted a comment.
Oh, the comment you were mentioning just now?
Oh no, I didn't.
Oh dang it!
I just missed it when I was scrolling through.
That's the reply.
I had a flex this week.
Hmm?
I don't know if you guys saw that. I was just being a dude. I know, sometimes it's just fun to be a dick because people are fucking annoying. Somebody commented on part 2 of Lock, and they're like, puzzles aren't really your strength. And I'm like,
oh yeah, I saw that.
Oh yeah?
Wow. No, that's fine. That's okay to be a dick after somebody says that.
So I was just like, anyway, here's my interview with the developer who was subscribed to my Patreon already because he was a fan of my puzzle videos.
That wasn't even being a dick.
It was just good. The context is just like,
that's just
so 2.5 hour interview with the developer of the game that you're saying I was bad at playing through.
That's like run of the mill honey cakes. Not even mean.
It's actually intimidating sometimes though. There's like a lot of indie developers will watch your content as like essentially like an extended like play test kind of situation, because they'll learn about how the people react to different situations in a really granular way, and it's really intimidating to ever hear that that's happening. Like I think was it at one point the guy working on Gloomwood tweeted that he watched my System Shock 2 playthrough to get back in the groove of things, so that he was like when he was gearing up to make his immersive sim, and I'm like, oh, cool. Shit.
Influencing games.
That game looks really cool. The Gloomwood. One of them thief-style games set in like a steampunky kind of place. Co-developed by the guy who made Dusk, who also recently made that terrifying Bottom of the Blood Ocean End of the Universe game. That was a sentence that I said.
Oh, Gloomwood. Is it like
I
a
don't
shooter?
know what you just said.
It's a... It
looks
features guns somewhere, but it's more of like a... I mean, it's like a stealth immersive sim game.
It's got guns.
I think it's set during a plague or something. I did the Let's Try like a while ago when they first put the demo out.
Got a Tetris inventory, which is immediately an upgrade over Thief. The Thief has a scrolling inventory like Fallout 1 or like Tomb Raider 1.
Mm.
It doesn't work. A pain.
I mean, it's absolutely having a list-based inventory is agony the moment it has to scroll, and it's so much worse when the scrolling is just like not an easy thing to do. Like fucking Fallout wasn't Fallout 1 the game where like 2 items in your entire inventory fit on the screen at once, basically?
No, it's
you
like
can have
5.
like dozens of items.
It's 5, but the thing is, back when Fallout
it's like
came
a
out,
monster. It's like a
we didn't have scroll
horrifyingly
wheels.
small. Yeah,
there were no
like,
scroll wheels. But you should have. I don't know why it didn't work for you. It should have worked, the scroll wheel, because there's patches for that.
Yeah, like it didn't scroll in any easy way, and like you could only see like 1/10 of your inventory, and it was an actual nightmare.
And the thing is, it's sorted you can't resort the inventory, and it's sorted.
It's based on
by
like
date.
most recently interacted or something, isn't it?
No, it's based on the most oldest interactive. So the oldest items are always at the top, and they changed that for Fallout 2 to be the most recent interactive. To this day, I do not know which one is better.
They're both wrong in their own ways.
Because you want to access your money late in the game, you just have to scroll through the whole list of 100 items.
An inventory item is on a list is rough.
Yeah. Or your stim packs, because you have a stim pack. I do not know which one is better. I honestly think it's Fallout 1 is better in that regard. Oldest top, newest bottom.
It's just the thing you want to interact with literally every time you open your inventory. It's fine.
It's all good. Especially because there's technically 2 inventory screens. One of them that does have only 4 items per screen rather than 5.
Sounds well thought out.
Don't question it. Yeah, it's
Kill me.
It's very influenced by point-and-click inventory items, because the game is a point-and-click adventure with turn-based combat, basically. So you're ever supposed to only have so many items, and of course it kept growing during development. But the original thing was to have only so many items and go around doing things. Like in a Welcome to the Monkey Island thing, or what's it called? Secret of the Paradise.
What?
The famous one that people had to.
It's just that you were so perfectly on course. You're like, yep, Secret of the... Yeah, he's going to say Secret of Monkey Island. And then he just veered right off the road.
Yeah.
Right when it's time to say the thing you got right the first time.
The Secret of Monkey Island is the one that everyone knows, but...
I was so not ready for that turn.
I'm just edging my bets, half of one, half of the other. We got somewhere in there, there's the name. That's how
Monkey Island, The Secrets
think.
of King's Quest. There you go.
Heroes of Monkey Island, Secrets of Thief.
Oh God, could you combine the name of every point-and-click adventure
Secrets
game
of
into one
Thief.
really long title?
No, the trick is to not make it too long. No, you shouldn't make it too long. It needs to be something like Final Scrolls.
What?
Like just like that's two names. It's two franchises that are easy to immediately identify. And just say Final Scrolls, and then a subtitle that is like also three things.
But isn't that just that's like the easy? Isn't that the easy version of like you see a picture of like a Dalek and you're like, wow, I love Star Wars, and people are like, oh my, I'm having a heart attack. Or you see like a picture of Gandalf and you put him you take a picture of Gandalf and put him in some other fantasy property, and you're like, wow, and then you just name it like Harry Potter or something, and someone's like, wow, this is not even right. You've like 3 levels of degree of bad.
Well, speaking of Final Scrolls, you can send your questions to dialogchoicespodcast@gmail.com. We're out of questions. We don't got a single question. You got to be old VIP priority, as if we and that we'll be like, where's the questions? Then we'll forget to check for 3 months.
Exactly.
And it's been 2 whiles since the last podcast, and then we have no questions. How dare you?
Yep. See you guys next week, unless we don't.
What?
We will. Probably.
You gotta keep them guessing. Keep them on edge.
God.
Make them miss you.
Make them.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.